I learned the art of silence the night I realized betrayal does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers through familiar smiles. They were my people, my blood, my promises. And when they chose convenience over truth, something inside me broke quietly. I did not scream. I did not expose them. I swallowed the hurt and stood still. Because survival sometimes demands stillness before movement. For years I carried secrets heavier than any suitcase. At family dinners I laughed on cue. At work I worked twice as hard, knowing my name had been stained behind closed doors. They lied about me, took credit for my labor, and rewrote my story until I sounded ungrateful, unstable, replaceable. I heard the rumors like distant thunder, always approaching, never quite striking, and I kept walking. People mistook my silence for weakness. They assumed I agreed with the lies, because I did not challenge them publicly. What they never saw were the nights I sat alone, replaying conversations, collecting evidence in my mind, learning who I could trust. Silence became my shield, not my surrender. I stayed quiet because I needed clarity. Anger can blur judgment, and I refused to destroy myself. While trying to defend my name, I watched patterns repeat. I noticed who benefited. I learned the cost of speaking too soon in a world that rewards the loudest liar. This is not a story about patience as virtue, it is about strategy, dignity, and timing. I stayed silent for years about their betrayal. Not because I was afraid, but because I was preparing to tell the truth in a way they could never escape. Before judgment came, I chose endurance, letting time sharpen facts, calm my voice, and position my truth where denial would finally collapse without mercy for everyone watching closely. The betrayal did not happen all at once. It unfolded in small permissions. A document signed without me, a meeting I was not invited to, a promise changed then denied. Each moment taught me how easily truth can be edited. When power feels threatened, I was the dependable one. The woman who fixed problems quietly. They knew I would not explode. They relied on my restraint while they stepped over my boundaries. When I questioned them privately, they smiled, called me sensitive, and suggested rest. Gaslighting wears polite clothes, and I learned its language quickly. Silence began to cost me opportunities. Projects disappeared, promotions stalled. My ideas returned through other mouths praised loudly. While I sat in the audience applauding my own stolen thoughts, I went home empty, cooked dinner, and reminded myself that storms gather strength invisibly. Friends advised confrontation. They did not understand the terrain. I was outnumbered, outfunded, and already painted as difficult. Speaking then would have fed the narrative they were building. So I documented everything: dates, emails, witnesses, patterns. I turned pain into records. At night, doubt visited me. I questioned my worth, my memory, my courage. Then I remembered who benefited from my confusion. That realization steadied me. I stopped seeking fairness from unfair people. Instead, I invested in competent learning systems, policies, and leverage. This chapter of my life taught me discipline. I learned to breathe through injustice without becoming it. I learned to wait without disappearing. Most importantly, I learned that silence can be an education, and I was studying my opponents with patient, unblinking attention. While they underestimated my quiet, I refined my skills, expanded my network, and secured proof, ensuring that when truth surfaced, it would stand independent of opinions or moods across time, place, authority, and institutional memory permanently. As months turned into years, my silence hardened into resolve. I stopped asking permission to exist. I invested in certifications, saved money secretly, and built alliances outside their reach. Every small win stitched confidence back into me. They grew careless. People who believe lies forever forget evidence exists. Emails contradicted stories. Numbers exposed. Theft of credit. Timelines refused to bend. I noticed fear flicker when I asked neutral questions. Power weakens when watched. I learned restraint without bitterness. I showed up prepared, calm, and consistent. I delivered results impossible to dismiss. When they minimized me publicly, I responded with documentation privately. When they mocked my patience, I smiled and took notes. The injustice still hurt. Some mornings I cried in the shower, letting water hide the sound. But pain no longer controlled my direction. I trained myself to act from purpose, not reaction. That discipline changed my posture, my voice, my future. I began mentoring other women quietly. I shared tools, warnings, and encouragement. Watching them grow reminded me that dignity multiplies when shared. Together, we created a record of excellence that no rumor could erase. Preparation is not revenge. It is survival with vision. I was no longer waiting to be chosen. I was choosing myself. Assembling the final pieces, the truth was ready. I was ready. All that remained was the moment when justice would listen. Timing matters because truth needs structure, witnesses, and context, so I aligned calendars, secured counsel, protected allies, rehearsed facts, anticipated defenses, and prepared consequences that would follow procedures, laws, and ethical standards, precisely. Nothing was rushed, nothing leaked, and every step respected process, ensuring accountability arrived undeniable, irreversible, and educational for everyone involved, including me, them observers, leaders, partners, regulators, and future victims seeking courage and clarity for. The moment arrived quietly, without drama or warning. A formal review opened, questions were asked in neutral tones. My name appeared beside data, timelines, and corroboration. For the first time, their confidence wavered in public spaces they once controlled completely. I spoke carefully, not emotionally. I presented facts, not feelings. Each answer connected to evidence, each claim supported by records. Their interruptions were noted, their contradictions were logged. Silence shifted sides, and I watched understanding spread across faces. Trained to detect truth, they tried old tactics. They questioned my motives. They suggested misunderstandings. They implied resentment. It failed. Documentation does not argue. It reveals. The room changed temperature as accountability became unavoidable. And power recalibrated. Under scrutiny, I felt calm. Years of preparation steadied my hands. I was not there to punish. I was there to correct the record. Justice does not require cruelty. It requires clarity, consistency, and courage to finish what truth begins. Outside the room, whispers followed me again, but different this time. People apologized quietly. Some thanked me for saying what they could not. Others avoided eye contact. Recognizing the cost of complicity, I accepted all reactions without explanation. Consequences followed process. Titles shifted, authority redistributed, policies tightened, credit returned to rightful owners. My role was restored with respect, not pity. I did not celebrate loudly. I went home, cooked dinner, and slept deeply for the first time in years. This chapter taught me that dignity is powerful when paired with proof. I did not need revenge. Justice arrived because I refused to abandon myself. Silence had done its work. Speaking finished it cleanly, finally, without surrendering who I am. After justice, I faced a new challenge. Forgiveness without forgetting. Healing demanded boundaries, not bitterness. I limited access, defined terms, and protected my peace deliberately. Strength, I learned, is maintenance after victory, not applause during it. Some people wanted reconciliation quickly. They urged unity, closure, and moving on. I listened, then chose distance. Accountability does not expire with discomfort. Trust requires time, transparency, and changed behavior, not urgency, from those spared consequences. Professionally, doors opened. Invitations came without qualifiers. My voice carried weight because it carried truth. I used that influence, carefully advocating systems that prevent quiet exploitation. Progress should not depend on individual endurance. Privately, I rebuilt myself. Gently, I rested. I laughed again. I allowed joy without suspicion. The version of me forged in silence, learned to receive without apology. I was no longer defined by betrayal, but by how I transformed it. I continued mentoring, now openly. We shared strategies, not secrets. We normalized documentation, self-advocacy, and collective safety. Watching others stand sooner felt like closure I never expected. The people who betrayed me kept their distance. Some tried to rewrite history again, but the record stood firm. Truth ages well when preserved properly. Lies require constant repair, and they tired of maintenance. I did not win by destroying them. I won by refusing to shrink. My life expanded where fear once lived. Justice gave me ground. Empowerment taught me how to build upon it with intention and grace. Time revealed the full impact of my choices. Systems improved, reviews became fair, credit flowed accurately. Quiet workers felt safer speaking. My silence, once misunderstood, had altered structures when paired with courage. I was invited to lead. Leadership felt different after betrayal. I listened more. I protected margins. I intervened early. Power, when informed by pain, can become protection instead of threat. There were moments of grief still. Betrayal leaves scars that weather cannot erase entirely. But scars tell stories of survival, not weakness. I honored them without letting them steer me backward. I practiced saying no without explanation. I practiced rest without guilt. I practiced joy without fear. These were skills as important as any credential I earned. During preparation, when asked why I stayed silent for so long, I answered simply: I needed truth to mature. I needed safety. I needed proof. Not every battle is won by first contact. Some are won by endurance and foresight. I refused to let my story become a warning alone. I turned it into a guide. Silence is not always submission. Sometimes it is strategy, gathering force, waiting for conditions where justice can survive. The calm I carry now is earned. It is not fragile. It is built from patience, evidence, and self-respect. I trust myself completely, and that trust is unshakable. Here is the lesson I carried out of years of quiet pain. Your voice matters most when it is protected by truth. Silence can be powerful when chosen, dangerous when forced, and transformative when guided by dignity. I stayed silent, not to disappear, but to prepare. I watched, I learned, I strengthened myself where no one applauded. When I spoke once clearly, and the truth held. Betrayal tried to make me smaller. Silence made me smarter. Justice made me whole. Empowerment taught me to remain so. If you are quiet now, ask yourself why. If it is fear, seek safety. If it is strategy, honor your timing. Do not confuse noise with courage. Do not confuse patience with permission. Your worth does not depend on their recognition. Your story does not require their approval. When the moment comes, let facts lead. Let dignity guard you, and let justice do its work. I am no longer silent. I am deliberate. And that is why their betrayal failed to define me.